We've got some major news here that impacts not just Nevada, but the entire country as we head into 2024. A Nevada grand jury has returned indictments for 6 Republicans who served as fake electors for Donald Trump in 2020. The state's Attorney General, Democrat Aaron Ford, released a statement saying, quote, "When the effort to undermine faith in our democracy began after the 2020 election, I made it clear that I would do everything in my power to defend the institutions of our nation and our state. We cannot allow attacks on democracy to go unchallenged. Today's indictments are the product of a long and thorough investigation, and as we pursue this prosecution, I am confident that our judicial system will see justice done." And of course, I should note that these 6 defendants will now have the opportunity to defend themselves in court, but it's certainly an uphill battle given the trajectory for the fake electors in these cases so far. As we know, these cases are pretty cut and dry. Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. He knew he lost the 2020 election. It was apparent by anyone operating in anything close to good faith that he lost the election. His legal team and their allies lost over 60 cases in the courts, and yet still, these fake electors used their positions of power to help Donald Trump install himself the winner of an election that he lost. So while they absolutely have the right to defend themselves, the notion that they have a valid defense is laughable. This news out of Nevada now marks the 4th state where these fake electors are contending with criminal charges, including Michigan, Georgia as part of Fani Willis's sprawling RICO case, and most recently Arizona. I spoke with top voting rights attorney and my Democracy Watch co-host Mark Elias in the aftermath of the indictments in Arizona, and here's what he had to say.
So let me just tell you, this may sound very technical, but for everyone who is worried about election subversion in 2024, that the election deniers will prevent the accurate election results from being certified and transmitted to Congress as part of the electoral count. This was a big warning shot in 2022, and it is great to see the state of Arizona take serious action, and everyone should be focused on this case. I think there's a good argument to be made that when you look at the insurrection of 2021, in January 6th, 2021, following the 2020 election, that prior to that day, prior to January 6th, that one of the dates that will go down in infamy was the effort by Donald Trump's legal team and Donald Trump himself to prevent the state of Michigan from certifying the results. You may remember Michigan has a bipartisan, what's called canvassing board. And they have a canvassing board at the county level and at the state level. And if you go back and look, Brian, and Democracy.com covered this extensively at the time, that they tried to prevent Wayne County, which is where Detroit is, from certifying Detroit. So their goal was to certify the rest of the state, but not include the numbers from Detroit. And for a brief moment there, it looked like it was going to work. Then it went to the state canvassing board. And there, as you recall, one of the 2 Republicans refused to certify, and it only got certified with 2 Democrats and 1 Republican.
Yeah.
So we saw very, very close brush with democracy dying or coming seriously under attack in 2020. And then in 2022, we saw in some counties in Pennsylvania refuse to certify until my legal team sued them. So this goal of preventing election results from being finalized by refusing to certify is a real threat to democracy. It was a real threat in 2020. It was a real threat in 2022. And it is good to see that the Attorney General of Arizona is saying, not here again, no.
And of course, to see more episodes of Democracy Watch, make sure to subscribe to this channel. And I want to be clear, not only is this news a win for democracy and a blow to Trump amid his hopes that he can employ a similar strategy in the 2024 election, but it's also a major warning to the remaining fake electors. In New Mexico, for example, there is an ongoing investigation that may very well result in more criminal charges. Hopefully this indictment in Nevada lights a fire under the asses of prosecutors there that criminals should not be given get-out-of-jail-free cards just because they're aligned with a powerful political figure. We either abide by the rule of law in this country country or we don't. Prosecutors in every state should think about that. But just as important as holding the past fake electors to account is the precedent this sets for the future. There is arguably no greater deterrent for any future fake electors than watching the 2020 class face criminal prosecution in states across the country. I've said it before and I'll say it again, the only way to safeguard our democracy for the future is to hold those to account who've already attacked it. And that's a point that Mark Elias again drove home.
As I said, we have to be judicious in how the criminal justice system interacts with politics. But one of the places where it has to is to serve as a deterrent to bad criminal conduct. And so we cannot run elections in this country if they are not accurately certified at the end. We cannot run elections in this country if you have an office holder who incites a violent mob to storm the Capitol. We cannot run elections in this country if you have a racketeering conspiracy in a state like Georgia or where you have fake electors in Michigan. So all of these, to me, are of a similar part. And the goal, I think, in all of these prosecutions is not just to punish the wrongdoers, but precisely as you say, to safeguard democracy in 2024 by serving as a warning. If you are an election official in 2024, you need to do your job, whether you like the outcome or not. I don't speak lightly about the use of criminal charges in the political context. I think we have to be judicious as a country in when we want the criminal justice system to be brought to bear. I think obviously the use of criminal charges in the case of Donald Trump, absolutely essential. Absolutely essential. What we saw on January 6th was a violent insurrection to try to overturn the will of the electorate by preventing the certification of a free and fair election in Congress. And Donald Trump's role in that needs to go forward, and the judicial system needs to bring that forward. The Georgia case is very, very important. The fake elector case in Michigan, very, very important. Why are all of those important? Because they all go to the question not of what happened in the voting, but whether or not you're actually going to have the results of elections certified, right? Fake electors, January 6th, the indictments in Georgia, because again, they go to the question of whether or not after the will of the voters have been heard, are we going to have certified elections, or are we going to have local election officials decide they don't want to? So going into 2024, we know, Brian, this is again going to be a risk.
So while my hopes aren't high, I do hope this serves as a warning for future Trump allies not to put your freedom at risk for Donald Trump, because if you haven't noticed by now, it quite literally never works out. Most of Trump's attorneys have either been disbarred, are in the process of being disbarred, or have been indicted. A number of his associates are now convicted felons. We've seen his chief of staff pose for his mugshot, along with other loyalists like Jenna Ellis, Rudy Giuliani, and John Eastman. And frankly, the only thing more pathetic than these people throwing their careers, their relationships, and their liberty away for Donald Trump is the fact that none of them ever expected it to happen to them, when, let's be honest, it eventually happens to everyone. We've watched for the better part of a decade as Trump has discarded everyone around him the moment they become inconvenient for him. The delusion that this round of people are contending with to think that somehow, on some planet, it won't happen to them really is incredible. Here's a clue for the next round of Trump loyalists. No, you are not special. No, you're not different. No, he does not really care about you. And no, he will not hesitate to discard you the moment you lose your usefulness. And the sooner you come to terms with that, the more likely it is that you may just stay out of prison. And don't take it from me, take it from yet another slate of electors who may very well be enjoying their last days of freedom, all thanks to Donald Trump. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to the channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.